which touches on this is also when it comes to prostitution. So Sweden, some 20 years ago, passed a law, the first country in the world, which put the entire blame on the buyer of sex. The buyer of sex is the criminal, not the seller of sex. And after we passed this law, prostitution on the streets in Sweden went down by 50% in a few years. And I think that might be something that you could look at.
And I think we have time for 2 more questions. Yes,
I'd like to present Mrs. Nero. Of the many instances of rape that you mentioned, how much do you attribute as being belonging to a poor family? Because in the country, poor families live under their one roof, but within the confines of the same room.
Well, as I mentioned earlier, one of the highest instances of rape is marital rape and also incestuous rape. And this comes from poverty, obviously. A lot of families, they have 6 children, they all live in one bed. When their parents want to have sex with each other, they're already kind of exposing their children to sexual abuse because they're watching their parents have sex. And in many cases, this then it becomes sexual violence towards the children. So poverty is absolutely a major factor in this. And something that I know that there are several programs that the Vice President has, along with SPARK, to try and help empower people to alleviate the poverty. But this is a massive problem, obviously. So with what the Vice President was saying about making this project more inclusive, we are also trying to make sure that everybody in the Philippines can also have this message reach them. So we're also planning video campaigns and things that people can learn from. Hopefully we'll be having them in cinemas and across the internet. So the message can be carried as far as it can in terms of how sexual violence can damage people, adults, and children. And we just want to encourage people, because a lot of the time this is also something that has become the norm in our country, that they grew up with the same sexual violence, therefore it's carried on in their families. And the only way to really stop this is to educate them that this is not proper way to forward, and hopefully we can make a difference, because like I said, poverty is a huge issue, and as much as we are working hand in hand to try and fix that as well, at the moment all we can really do is try and educate as many people as possible, and hopefully that it also encourages others to step in when they see violence happening, though, because a lot of the time the family members won't stop the violence because they're used to it, or because it's the husband and they don't want them to go to jail. So according to the law, if you are aware of a rape case, you can file a case on behalf of the victim. You don't need the victim's consent to do this. So really we'd like to invite people to also be more involved in our community, and if you do know of sexual violence towards a child, to actually do something about it, because you have that capacity. And in a lot of cases, the children cannot, and their families will not help them. So it really is up to us as a society to try and change what's going on in our country.
Last question? Yes, ma'am.
Do you have contacts with the NGOs, several NGOs who are into taking care of children or minors who are victims of rape?
Yes, but a lot of them don't want to be spoken about publicly because they're terrified of how many people will come to them and the lack of resources that they have. That's literally what I have spoken to NGOs about. They love to help victims. They have very many victims within their walls. Some of them are shelters, but they don't have the capacity to take in everybody who would come to them in this circumstance. So there are, if you want to mention some.
No, there are actually 2, but you're right. They don't publicize it because they're considered halfway houses. There's one that's running in Muntinlupa, which the government, I think, I'm not sure if the government is still supporting it, and there's one in Manila. But these 2 are, it's not long term. This is basically a place where you go to seek refuge when you have an experience of abuse, and you can stay there for a couple of days, and that's how the process works. You get counseling, you have a roof above your head and you have food for a couple of days, but it's nothing long term.
So what are you planning to do, or what can you contribute to say that, as you said, really that is the problem, that they lack resources. So what will be the setup? What can you suggest or contribute?
Well, we at Spark, most of our programs are leading women's economic empowerment with several partners. One of them of which is the Office of the Vice President. We work with women from rural areas, urban poor communities, and if you ask me, if you really want to empower a woman and you want her to get out of the situation that she's in, it's really through economic empowerment. And we have running programs. We have one in Lipad Binay. We work with 8 barangays in Quezon City. We have worked with 160 women for 2 years now. We are hoping that we came up with a replication manual on gender development and good governance, and we're hoping that this manual can be replicated all throughout the country, that 5% of the budget for gender development, the Philippines has a law that 5% of the budget, whether it's a national agency, a barangay, that they can use this budget. And right now, for me, not that it's bad, I always say this, not that Zumba is bad, nothing against Zumba, but I feel, we at Spark feel, that the 5% can go through better programs, that this can be used to empower us, but especially issues like this for women. With the Office of the Vice President, we had a project last year where we worked with women in Mindanao, all throughout different women from Mindanao. And if you look at the stories of the day that we met them, and their stories a year after, and how they've empowered themselves, and how you hear stories of a woman who had never rode a plane or even left her community. And when she did financial literacy trainings with us, she created her business plan, and now she's an operating business. When you hear her say that for the first time in her life she's entered the bank, she's a bank account, she's paid the tuition of her children in full. These are stories that that's the next step to take them out of that situation, is through women's economic empowerment. And we're so happy, we at Spark are very proud that towards the end of this week, we will then be doing this project again, but this time for the women in the Visayas. And we're hoping to bring it to Luzon as well. But that's one of the programs that we're doing.
Also to add, we're hoping that as we bring Respeto Naman around the country, to then get in touch with the gender and development councils in each of these areas, as well as local schools and their school councils, to be able to create a movement within those areas as well. So even though we won't be able to create an NGO for everybody, we want to be an umbrella campaign so that we can spark this in different regions in the country and create communities. Because what NGOs actually offer a lot of victims is a community where they feel safe. Where they don't feel persecuted, judged, or victimized again and again. So we're trying to create communities across the country where they will have other people, nakakampi nila. They have other people to talk to hold hands with, other victims or just supporters who are aware of their plight and want to keep them safe as well. And this empowers them greatly. I really believe that. So we may not be able to create loads of NGOs, but we will be sparking communities across the country, we hope, that will embrace the victims and give them the help that they need within their area.
Thank you. Thank you, Pat. Any last question? All right.